Welcome to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast, where we provide constant improvement to businesses through timely, actionable financial solutions. Do you want answers to your financial questions? Email us at bsp@kaizencpas.com. I'm your host, Mark Valesky. Now let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Kaizen Time. I'm joined by Eric Jordan, a partner here at the firm. What's going on, Eric?
Oh, just relishing post-tax season life.
Isn't it a beautiful life?
It sure is.
Yeah. It's almost like a mini vacation.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing the pressure drop off immediately post.
I gotta ask, do you celebrate like right afterwards?
It's so here's the way things kind of go is we end up scheduling a whole lot of meetings and follow-ups immediately after tax season. So actually the first couple weeks immediately after tax season are kind of crazy busy still. Mm-hmm. And then things start to level off and slow down. And then we usually celebrate once May hits. You know, April, still quarter end month, a lot of things, moving pieces. And then we'll go out and celebrate in May.
So one thing I want to ask then is, after tax season, do you kind of sit at home and you're like, this is the furthest possible time from the next tax season?
Yes. Some people are brutal and they already posted how many days until the next tax season.
Like Christmas.
And they're like, yeah, I don't get it. But
well, let's get into our subject for this episode, which is POS systems and how they affect your financials. Let's talk about the first component, which is the actual transaction with a client.
Yeah. Totally. First, your POS should not be a POS. So
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, some people will complain about the cost of having an updated modern POS system, right? They might still be using the old
paper tape and
geez, I mean, you still go to restaurants and they're using a cash register with tape on it. And, while there's a cost to getting a POS system, it's so important. It should be the lifeblood of your business if you are inside of that retail space. Mm-hmm. So when you think about a POS, right? So you have customer comes in, whatever you're selling, widgets, you're selling a repair, you're selling food, you're a restaurant. It's collecting data. So you're going to have a lot of data here. It's really the central hub of data for your business. So you're going to have customer information in there, which is very important, but you're also going to have a lot of information about what people buy and how frequent things are bought. And what's important about that is, how do you know what to offer the marketplace, right? If it costs you X to offer a product and the volume is very low, but you're not measuring that, you're working off feel. Mm-hmm. We like to work off data, right? Obviously, as business owners, we have to use intuition. We got to make decisions from our gut from time to time. And when there's data to support our gut feelings, I think we should utilize that data. So it's very important to have either a CRM or a POS system, and POS stands for point of sale, in case you didn't know that. Yep. Or even a shop management system, mm-hmm. Any of these different systems that house this data, and including that is your sales data. And when we're talking about sales data, we're talking about what's the total amount somebody paid, what did they buy, but also how did they pay me? All three of those pieces of information are very important to understand what's going on with your business. And they have very significant impacts on the financial statements for the business.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing I like to say is you have to know where you are, which it's collecting that data for you to be able to accurately decide where you want to go.
Exactly.
Right. And then also be able to see the changes too.
Yep.
Hey, this thing is selling great now. You're aware of that. And all of a sudden, if it drops off, you can be aware of that change too. And you can make the adjustments to inventory or whatever it is that is needed to service that.
Definitely.
So the front end is, hey, it's actually taking care of the transaction. It's taking care of the actual money component.
Yep. I'm giving somebody a receipt or an invoice and they're paying me.
Yep. That is the essential component. And then it's collecting that data, what's being sold, and collecting it in a way that you can organize it.
Exactly.
Instead of having to just keep it all in your head, right?
Yeah.
Because we see that often. Like business owners, all the information is stuck in their head. Can you go in a little bit more detail? We bring up a lot about business owners taking off hats and allowing other people to have that responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. So, geez, I mean, if you're a business owner and you're just trying to wing it off whatever's going on in your head, especially from sales information, sales data, it again, right. There's so much reliance on what you can remember and what you know. And I mean, the worst thing you could be doing is spending time, manually writing invoices, taking an Excel spreadsheet and tracking how many of some items that I sold, or even worse, you're doing your own bookkeeping, right? Now, all of a sudden you're most, you went into business because you're really good at something, right? More than likely you're really good at, creating a restaurant, a concept, an idea, having really good process systems and processes in place, or maybe you're a great technician or a great service advisor. You started an auto repair shop. Maybe you're really good at building relationships and you're a distributor and you're really good at finding strategic buyers. Whatever you do, you have a really unique skill set. And really that's where you need to be focusing your time on is, hey, I need to spend as much time as possible in what I'm really good at. Where are my talents at? And stop spending time to do other things because it generally comes down to cost or control, right? As a business owner, we wear too many hats because we want control over a function, or we are afraid of the cost. But oftentimes we're a little short-sighted when it's that cost standpoint, right?
Is this the penny wise, pound foolish?
Penny wise, pound foolish, jumping over dollars to save pennies. Because that time that you spend doing those activities to save money could probably be amplified if you spend that time doing what you're best at.
So I want to add that this is not me talking poorly about business owners because they want to keep that knowledge in their head. But so often now they're going around, they're doing the running of the business, and all of a sudden they are removed from the transaction. So there may be things happening with the clients that they're not aware of, and now the data, because really data doesn't lie, right? It's numbers. It is what it is. They have that information available, not just based off of memory, because they may be that far removed from the actual business component with the direct communication of the client.
Definitely.
Let's move into what else the POS can do. What are some essential functions that really should be in there?
Yeah. I mean, so with a POS, keeping the data clean is 100% priority number one, because if you don't keep the data clean, the information becomes less and less usable. So if we want to run marketing campaigns out of data from your POS, and your staff's in there, and everybody's a John Doe with no email address because they don't want to ask for emails, because that's hard, right? Hard to get an email address. Well, it's really hard to send somebody an email saying, when you're going to come back. When are you going to come back? If they're not collecting a cell phone number, a textable phone number, you can't do text campaigns. If they're not accurately logging what they're buying, or if they're like, hey, I don't know what my baked in transactions are, I'm just put everything under other. All of a sudden now you don't have good, clean data to make decisions for your business. Conversely, on the financials, how this can impact things on your financials. So what we see issues with is oftentimes it's actually control around how I get paid. And
really?
Yep.
Okay.
So what we run into issues from is we don't know if somebody's stealing or undercharging, what's going on, because the data is not correct inside their POS. So what does that look like? So I go, we have a table come in to a restaurant, and they pay say via credit card.
Okay.
Well, I go in and I log it. I swipe it on my terminal, but then I go in and I log it in as a cash sale.
Oh, okay.
So now all of a sudden these things don't balance, or maybe I put it in as a check and they paid me in cash. Maybe that person put the cash in their pocket. They put check on there. Well, if things are not rung up right. So at the end of the day, say you're a restaurant, at the end of the day, I mean, really this is any business with some type of POS, daily sales, retail-based business.
Where they're logging it and they get a report at the end.
Yeah,
right?
A manager at the end of the day should make sure my batch for the day on the credit card matches what I have logged into my POS system. They should make sure that my cash and in my check drops
all match up. Yep.
All match. by drops, meaning, hey, I maybe have an envelope, I have a drawer, whatever it may be, wherever I collected all these payment methods and I have them in here. And I have a set day in which those will get dropped at the bank. Mm-hmm. So when I have drops, that's what I'm talking about but that has to match then back to that system. And somebody needs to own that function within that business to make sure that otherwise you got money that can just walk out the door. If there's not anybody reconciling that money walks out the door. And if somebody's not doing that at the site level, right, you can send your stuff off to a bookkeeper, but they're never going to be able to find out. I mean, they'll tell you, hey, this doesn't match. Yep. That's about all they can know because they don't have the intimate data at the store level.
And they're not there. They're not aware. And by then it's also way too late.
100%.
Right? You need to be on top of that. I worked retail for a long time and we had exactly those checks and balances every night. We went through the drawer. We had inventory of everything and we knew if something was off, and it wasn't so bad that it couldn't be corrected. Right.
Exactly.
And often it's not necessarily like theft or anything, but it's, we just didn't find the check in the drawer. Yeah. And that can get corrected right then before it actually becomes a real issue with the books.
Definitely. Another function within the POS is inventory. Now,
how crucial would you say this is?
I think it's extraordinarily crucial, right? So we think about any place that sells goods,
which is virtually everything that is not a service.
Exactly. Even then they have goods if you're providing the service half the time. But if I'm not using something to track, hey, here's my purchase, I'm going to log on all my purchases. And when I make a sale, I'm going to take that purchase that I make and attach that purchase to a sale. If I'm not doing that, again, how do I measure, say I'm a restaurant and I order, I don't know, steaks, right? We buy some steaks. We're going to buy some New York strip steaks and we're going to get some really nice ones. Well, if nobody is managing that inventory, and the best way to do it is your POS, right? They have inventory modules. Sometimes they can even sync up with your purchaser, or you can purchase through your POS. I mean, there's such great integrations available now. But if I'm not doing that and I'm not controlling that inventory, all of a sudden, who says that somebody doesn't take some of those New York strips, pack them up in a little cooler and take them home, and that's what we're eating for dinner tonight. Mm-hmm. Maybe those steaks cost you $20 a pop, and they're doing that a couple times a week. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, that adds up pretty significantly through the year. So that is such a crucial part. Now, I'm a restaurant, right? I'm going to build. I'm going to have my menu, and I want to know what I'm going to price my food at. Well, so what do? I build a recipe for each item on the menu with my true updated ingredient cost.
Okay.
Right. Okay. If I don't do that, again, we're just doing it all up here in the head. Right. And maybe me as a business owner, I didn't pay attention to that order sheet. And next thing you know, 50%, we got a 50% price increase on an ingredient and we're losing money on a menu item. But somebody comes in here and comes into your restaurant and they're ordering something and
it's costing you.
It could literally cost you money to serve them that food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so important.
And really you got to think about it less like, let's say a salad.
Yeah.
Okay. You say, I want to order salad. Don't think of it as a salad. You actually have to think about every vegetable that's in it. Yeah. If there's any meat and dressing, you name it, that all plays a role in it does add up.
Exactly. I mean, let's talk about even say a distributor, right? Or some, you're in some sort of distribution of other goods or widgets. Now, say you're building up inventory over time and I'm ordering parts or widgets and they cost X today, X tomorrow, X, in the future. Now, all of a sudden we got different prices for the same exact product of different costs. So am I deciding on how am I deciding when I make that sale, which one do I use, right? Do I use the lowest cost? Do I use the most expensive cost item? Do they average together, right? If I'm doing that all in my head as the business owner, how consistent is my approach to that going to be? Or am I going to do what's convenient? Because I'm super busy. I'm wearing 12 hats at once. Then do I know if I'm pricing my product the right way, right? Do I have the right gold margin that I hope for? Well, again, if I'm not measuring it and if I'm not using the tools at my disposal, meaning my POS system, there's opportunity for money just to walk out the door because you're too busy to do things the right way.
So what you're saying is basically your POS is everything, and it should probably be a huge investment. Maybe not huge. So if you had to put a dollar amount or percentage amount that you would say, like, how much should you be investing into it?
So the crazy part is it's so much less money than you'd think, right? We just discussed how important this is. And I mean, if you listen to this, right, you're like, oh my God, that should be a huge cost center for my business. And, geez, I think about, like a Toast for a restaurant or TechMetric for a shop. I mean, we're talking a fraction of a percent cost.
So we're saying it'd be less than 1%.
Exactly.
It's less than 1%.
Yep.
And that in many ways can be less than what you're paying for an employee.
Well, how about this? So we're oftentimes here, a common bar for most businesses is that you should spend somewhere between 5 to 10% of your revenue on sales and marketing function, customer acquisition.
Okay.
Well, to be the most successful as possible for customer acquisition, you should have really good customer data of your current customers for repurchasing and for, just product mixes, things like trends, things like that, right? All that data is so important for good marketing that we're going to spend 5 to 10% here, but we're going to skimp on this data collection device that should be the core blood of our business. And we're probably cheapening our return by a greater percentage than my cost for that great POS system.
And you're right too, because that lifeblood is really feeding the other components of your business. Again, your sales and marketing wants that information.
Exactly.
And again, it's also, it is essential to the actual production work, the actual component of your business that is making the sales.
Exactly.
Eric, what else do you want to tell me?
I think that covers it. So again, if your POS is a POS, don't skimp on it. Go get the right software, right? Go to your industry conference, figure out what is the best software in my marketplace. Or, hey, talk to your CPA, right? CPAs work with many businesses within your industry. We see all the different systems. We can provide really good advice of, hey, what is working well for shop or for businesses that are succeeding? What's working very well? And for businesses that are failing, this is not working very well.
It reminds me, and at the point of this podcast coming out, the podcast with Al Wright should be out. And Al Wright, your interview with him, I thought was great. And he had this really great piece of advice, which was basically you want to work with people like you, or have the thought process of this is where I want to be.
Yep.
So talk to those kind of people and see what they're doing. It doesn't mean that they're doing everything right, but they're on that path, and they could say like, hey, we have a POS system that doesn't work well for us.
Yep.
And therefore you are learning from their mistake for free.
Love it.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you very much, Eric.
Of course.
You've been listening to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe and leave a 5-star review. This podcast has been brought to you by Kaizen CPAs Plus Advisors, providing advisory and accounting services to help you grow your business. Learn more at kaizencpas.com or email us at bsb@kaizencpas.com.